This is my review of Tesla, a Wizard of Electricity. Let's talk about this Wizard of Electricity. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am Peter the Book Lover, and I am very happy that you're here. I am very happy to see you, and I am going to talk about Nikola Tesla. He was a very ingenious guy, and this is a very interesting book. I really enjoyed this book quite a bit, and I've got a lot of facts that I learned here. Not all the facts I have listed here, but I got a huge list of facts that I want to cover, and we're going to cover that in a minute. Before I do, I want to welcome you, and I hope we can enjoy this video together. Okay, now the first facts that I'm going to give you is when he was born. He was born on July 9th or 10th because he was born at midnight. And he was born in a thunderstorm. And his parents were Multan, and Jokta. And she was uneducated, but she was the inventive one, while his father was a clergyman. And so he was born, and they had him, and he had other family members. I believe he's got 3 sisters and an older brother. Now, in 1861, his brother was killed by a horse in an accident. And what's ironic about it is that the same horse actually saved his father's life previously. And he was really bothered for that for a while. He went to school and he was educated. And the next big thing that I want to cover is in 1874, he contracts cholera and he's sick for 9 months. And it's a long time to be sick. During the time that he is sick, previously his father was trying to get him to be a clergyman, but he didn't want to be a clergyman. And while he was sick, his father finally said, okay, since you want to be an engineer so bad, I'll let you be an engineer. And it seems like once he said, okay, I'm not going to push you to be a clergyman, he got better and he went to study to be an engineer. Okay, the next thing that happened is that in 1884, right before he went to America, he fixed the system in Strasbourg. And the people that he was working for cheated him. They tried not to pay him. And these people is a branch of the Thomas Edison branch. So the people of Edison cheat him. And then he turns around and goes to America in 1884, same year. And in 1885, he gets cheated by Edison himself. So he winds up quitting. There's a little bit more detail to that, but that's a really a summary of what happens. Okay, so he gets cheated by Edison, and then he teams up with George Westinghouse, and they form a great companionship, and they form the Tesla company, and they work really good together. And then in 1887, he invents the shadowgraph, which is the precursor to the X-rays. And somewhere in this point, I don't have this listed here, but something that one of my favorite inventions by him is the remote control car, the remote control airplanes, drones, all that stuff. Somewhere along all this stuff, he invented the remote control car. The first thing that he used it for was a boat. Okay, so he invents that. He invents the shadowgraph. It later becomes the X-ray. Then in 1888, he invents alternating current. And At the same time, Alfred Porter Southwick invents the electric chair using the same power. Now, they pushed for the electric chair to be used because they wanted to prove that that alternating current was dangerous. So they tried to prove that it was dangerous, and something about Alfred Porter Southwick, when he experimented to invent the electric machine, he experimented with stray dogs. Now, when I first read that, that really broke my heart. I did not like that. Another thing that's interesting about the electric chair, before they invented it, there were other people pushing for morphine or the electric chair. And I think morphine is so much better than the electric chair. I mean, the electric chair is, got to be awful. And morphine, I mean, an overdose of morphine isn't good, but I'm sure it's better than the electric chair. Okay. So then in 1889, William Kremler, he is executed in the electric chair. He winds up beating his wife to death and admitting to it, and they wound up executing him. At around the same time, something that really, an accident that happened, and this is a crazy event, man. A lot of people freaked out when this happened, but John Feeks actually has an accident to where he gets electrocuted by alternating current, and he winds up spending a long time on display in front of a lot of people with sparks coming out of his mouth and stuff. It's a pretty grim thing, you know. And yeah, it almost stopped it because they tried to prove that alternative current was dangerous, because Edison actually established direct current, and direct current is what they were using already, and they already made a lot of money. So when Tesla came around with the alternating current, they really tried to stop it. Okay, so then after that he invents the Tesla coil. That is in 1891. In 1892 he experiments with radio, you know. And after like a year of experimenting with it, in 1893 he invents the radio. But in 1893, before he gets a chance to release the radio, this guy Marconi, that says that he never knew anything about Tesla's work, actually invents the radio before he has the chance to. And Tesla gets cheated once again. Okay? Then in 1884, he invents the oscillator. Here we go. Well, I said this earlier, the shadow graph that becomes the X-ray. I believe I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, so then in 1895, he invents shadow graphs. Now, shadow graphs are another name for X-rays. It's the same technology, and he invented it, and they ripped him off again, and it's a sad thing for Tesla. He got really gypped a lot. But yeah, he came up with the X-ray. He had a different name for it. And then in 1896, he invents the electrical generation, and that's at Niagara Falls. He has these turbine engines to where collects the weight of the water at the falls, and he figured out a way to turn that into electricity. Another incredible thing. This guy's really inventive, isn't he? Okay. Okay, and then in 1899, he was working on the Tesla coil, like this tower. It was a Tesla coil tower. And when he was working on it, he actually blows out a town. Like the whole town went dark. And then there was a generator burning and all kinds of stuff. Really crazy. Okay. And there's probably other inventions that I'm not mentioning here. When I read this book, I didn't start taking notes until halfway through the book, and then I realized there's a lot of notes that I should be taking here. So I actually went back and came up with all these notes. Okay, another interesting thing about him is that he really loved pigeons. There'd be times to when he'd be sitting in the park and he would just be surrounded by pigeons. He really loved them. And another thing that was interesting is that he was a germophobic. He was very germophobic, and he dressed really nice. He wasn't really good with money. And another thing that I forgot to mention, I don't know exactly when he did this, but there was one time he had two aunts, and he was with the two aunts, and his mother asked him which of the two aunts were the prettier ones, and he actually said that this one isn't as ugly as that one. And that was pretty brutal. I think he got in a lot of trouble for that. There was another example to where he had a secretary that he wanted to deliver a letter to somebody that was really important. And I could kind of see his point, but at the same time, he was kind of mean about it. Is that he actually made her go and change clothes before she went to go drop off this letter because he was really concerned about her appearance. Okay. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to insert is one of his quotes that I thought is really interesting. This is an interesting quote by Nikola Tesla. I was almost cremated 3 or 4 times, just missed being boiled alive. I was buried, abandoned and frozen. I have had narrow escapes from mad dogs, hogs, and other wild animals. I have passed through dreadful diseases and have been given up by physicians 3 or 4 times in my life for good. I have met with all sorts of odd accidents. I can't think of anything that did not happen to me. And to think that I am here this evening, hale and hearty, young in mind and body, with all these fruitful years behind me, is a little short of a miracle. Okay, now you've heard the quote. Okay, now there's still more that you can learn about Tesla. There's an autobiography that he wrote that if you get a chance, you should check it out. If you could read about this character was something else. He was amazing, really amazing, and I'm glad that I read this. I enjoyed it heavily. Okay, this part of the video is where I'm going to talk about the book that I plan on reading next. And this is The American Plague, or is it An American Plague, by Jim Murphy. This is going back to about 50 years before Tesla was born, so I'm kind of traveling back in history in America in 1793. This looks like an interesting book. I also have another review coming of where I'm going to talk about the first trilogy of the Shannara series. I don't go past that, but the original trilogy with the Elf Stones of Shannara, the Sword of Shannara, and the Wish Song of Shannara, I'm going to be covering that in a future video. I hope I will be looking forward to seeing you then. And I want to say thank you for coming by. And if you are one of the people that gave me a like in the past, I want to say thank you. If you're one of the people that are going to give me a like in the future, I want to thank you for your future like. And if you're one of the people that came here and you're just watching the video and you're not giving me a like, I'm going to give you a like because I'm really happy that you're here as well. And that's about it. Please check out the channels that I recommend, and I hope you have a nice day, and I hope I will see you soon. Have a nice one.